Welcome to the More Business, More Life podcast. And today, my guests are going to be Jovanni Casaus and Todd Walker. Yes, two guests. This might be our first episode with two guests, and we did it. We're going to be talking about how do you plan your fun first? Yes, you heard it. How do you plan all the fun things you want to do and then get all the work done that you want to get done, and managing expectations with clients, with your boss, with customers. How the heck does that all work out? We're going to talk about it. So here we go. Thanks, Jovanni and Todd, for joining me for this podcast. And I know we really want to dive into how do we talk about more business and more life. How do we actually have that more life part? What the heck do we do? Any suggestions?
Throw everything out the door.
Yeah, the old habits, right?
Yep.
Let them go. One thing I think we find is that we let life run us, like how many of us, and I can't tell you how many clients, I'm like, how does your day go? Oh, well, I wake up and I open my email and then kind of it's just off to the races, and then they're just like, it's completely reactive. They're just like reacting to client after client after client, putting after fire after fire after fire. So what I always start with, and Todd, this is what you always love talk about, is plan your fun first, right? And I mean, and Todd, it wasn't that easy. So that's why going back to Jovanni, you said throw everything out the window, or did you say the door? I don't know which one.
Either one.
Either one.
Throw them out both.
Throw them out the window and the door, whatever you can get out. Because why, Todd? Why is it difficult to? Why did you find it difficult to plan your fun first?
I don't know. Maybe you could tell me what I'm doing wrong, but the typical way that I plan my fun is I do all of my work, and if there's time, I do the fun.
Yeah. So basically, again, a little reactive on that, because you're saying, okay, I'm going to just do what I need to do, and then if I have time left, then I'll have fun time.
Yep. That's been my standard.
Yeah, and I think many people have done that, and I included. I definitely did that. I remember being at an amusement park with my then girlfriend, now wife, and I'm like, I gotta go. I gotta go. I can't stay here anymore. Literally, we paid for tickets to go into Magic Mountain, or is that what the one is? The one that's in Valencia, like on the way back from LA, right? So we were in Disneyland, and then on the way back, we're like, oh, let's do one more day. And then I was just stressing out the whole time because I wasn't getting enough work done. And like, we got off a ride and I was like, we got to go. And she said, we paid for the day here. I'm like, yeah, we got to go. She was so mad. And at that time in my life, she was always like, you never stop and smell the roses? She should have known. She should have known before she decided to marry me, because I was like, okay, we got to go. And I went back to work. I like literally drove up to San Francisco and went right to work. And I remember she fell asleep on the couch behind me. I was like at an edit suite, and I just like went to town, and I was letting things take my life. And so coming back to this plan my fun first, what I've done, and it took some mindset, and let's maybe uncover that. So I want to open this discussion. I plan my fun first because then that causes me to take the time away from work. So what essentially happens is I force the work hours into said amount of time so that I leave. Like even right now, I'm making my new plans for how I want to see the next year come. And I'm like planning when I'm going to get music lessons. And then I pay for an instructor. You can learn a lot on YouTube these days. And I do, I'll put my phone up and learn some piano, and I'll learn things. But you know why I'm hiring a pianist to teach me? So that I show up. So then I'm like there. It forces me, especially if I pay the money, then I want the money, or planning time with my family. It all comes to a Zig Ziglar story that I learned. And he said, why is it when we go on a holiday, we'll do so much more work before we leave? That's the question he posed. He's like, if you were going to go, and at that time he used Acapulco because it was a quite attractive destination at that time. It's not as popular these days. So he said, if I had 2 tickets to go to Acapulco and everything was paid for, flights, room, food, drinks, everything's paid for, and you're like, would you want to come? And people go, yes. And then he's like, okay, well then the only thing is we have to leave at 8 a.m. tomorrow. can you do it? And then, some people say yes, some people said no. They said, no, I can't do that. I can't do that. I have obligations and whatnot. And then some people said I can. And then he asked them, well, what do you have to do between now and 8 o'clock to get to meet me at the airport? Oh, I got to do this. I got to get someone to watch my dog. I got to get someone to watch my kids. I've got to do this. I got to do that. And the list goes on and on. And he says, you're going to get all that done before 8 and be there on time. Yes, I will. And then he's like, well, how is that possible? Is that the normal amount of workload that you have? No. Oh, so how is it when we're going to go on a holiday that we can get that much done? And if you think about it in your life, when you really wanted to go somewhere or something was going on, then you got it done. And that's the kind of, in a way, pressure. It is pressure, but it's a good pressure, but it's putting that and fabricating that pressure instead of allowing it just to happen. We're actually saying, you know what, I'm going to have music lessons at that time. So that means I've got to be done to go to my music lesson, or I'm going to be forfeiting money, or I'm going to make a date with my wife, or I'm going to make a date with my children, or I'm going to go do this, or I'm going to go do that. So planning my fun first enacted that ability to go the opposite of what you just said, Todd. So then now no longer am I saying, oh, if I have time left, it's like, no, I've got a meeting. I've got to go. I paid for this or whatever it is. And then I make that happen. And then guess what was happening? I started getting all my work done in a shorter period of time. Because if you allow, here's what I'll cap this all off with, and I'd love to hear what your experience has been once you started applying this. If I allow the whole day to do something, I'll take the whole day. If I tell myself I need to get it done in this period of time, then I can give it a go. Now, it doesn't mean it always works. Sometimes I might give 4 hours to something and it really needs 8 hours. Then I'm like, oh, that didn't work. Next time I know, okay, I got to do 4 hours one day and 4 hours another day, or can I do a whole 8 hours? We learn from this. I'm not saying it works perfectly the first time, but you start compartmentalizing what needs to be done. And then I would, after applying this, I could work a 4-hour day and get more done than someone putting a full 8-hour day in.
Yeah.
It's a lot of mindset. We think we're being productive, but, and this is proven statistically. You can look at it. Like, I love that show, Adam Ruins Everything. Has anybody ever seen that show? Yeah, and he does one on work, and he says it's less than half of the time anyone working is actually using productive time. I forget the statistic. I had it written down. I took so many notes. It's a 30-minute show. I filled pages of notes from that one because it's all in our theme, like work less. And everything he found statistically was like, if you work that amount of hours, most of it's unproductive.
Yeah. So Steve, could you talk a little bit more about the macro versus the micro? So sometimes I get up in the morning and I open up my emails, and that showers me with all kinds of rabbit holes that I get trapped into. And then it postpones the things that I had planned to push it out later. And then, and then it just snowballs. So should I be looking at the year, or should I be looking at the day, hour by hour?
Well, let's go back to that whole start of the day, right? Just stop doing that. Stop looking at your email. Just stop it. Just stop it, Todd. Stop it. Don't open your email. You know what? Guess where email is in my schedule for the day? The end of the day. The end of the day. It's the last thing I do. And I tell people, like, you're not going to get same day response from me on email. And I tell all of my clients, I tell everyone, email is my slowest thing. If you need me quickly, you better text me. And if you do send me an email and you're like, I need you to look at this, then text me. But even that, when I start my morning, Todd, my phone is on airplane mode. Airplane mode. The only time I use do not disturb is if I'm away from my family. So then this way my wife can get through. But and if you don't know if you go look how to use your phone, but you can set do not disturb so that only like your partner or someone in your life that you need, if there's an emergency, can get through. But when I'm with my family, then I'm already here. So airplane mode it goes. And then I have my whole morning to, meditate, read, journal, work out, all those things that are really important that start my day with high energy. Then the first part of work after I take care of self, the first part of work are my most important things. So typically, like when I'm writing my books, the books I've written, those are my first activities. I would spend an hour or two in the morning working on the book. Then I would get off to the day. And then the other thing that's really important to me is business development. If we're not feeding our business with new opportunities, then our business is like starving, right? It's like choosing not to eat for a period of time. Now, I've fasted before, and I know many people do, but you can't do that forever, so you've got to feed the body, especially if you're not drinking water. Then forget about it. Within hours, you're already going into, your body's already starting to go into other modes and shut things down because it's not getting water. The same things happen with our business. So those would be my highest priority. Number one, self. Number two, the most important thing you need to do for the day. Then number three, work on that biz dev. If you're doing biz dev, maybe you have a whole sales team and you don't have to do that anymore. And that's fine. Even I do have a team, and like obviously Todd, you're on that team with me, but I still make calls too. And then I get off to clients. Then I have client meetings, fulfillment meetings, team meetings, whatever else needs to be there. And then email. And I call it messages. It's like, so messages on LinkedIn, Facebook, and so I just call it all messages. It's all, and those have different priorities, right? So email might take more priority than Facebook or LinkedIn. And by the way, just a note, like in this last bit of building, Jovanni and I have been working heavily on building out our e-learning center and all these things. And it took, and many other things we're working on. Jovanni took a lion's share of some of that. And I had different tasks I had to do, like recording modules and all kinds of stuff. So I was down to 30 minutes a day of messages, and that wasn't enough. So I've been really behind on messages. We got through it. I delegated as much as I could, but ultimately I am going to increase that. But then you can measure that. It's like, do I need an hour of messages a day? And I have some clients, Todd, they like to do like 30 minutes right after lunch or right before lunch because they got all their morning routine done, and they check messages, and then they check messages at the end. And it all depends on the type of your business. Maybe you need to check those messages because part of your business is to handle emergencies. Like I work with lawyers, and then they might have a client with an emergency, so it's not proper for them. Now you could delegate that to an assistant, and then they can read and say, oh, that can go to their calendar tomorrow. That can go to their calendar tomorrow. Oh, this needs to be now. And then they appropriate that. But if you don't have an assistant, then checking your messages, but it has to be later in the morning after you get all your stuff done. Does that help with the micro?
Yeah. And I think one of the important things that you said in the beginning was that you set those expectations with your clients. So you can get your stuff done in the morning. You can do your self-care. You can do your music lessons. You can work on your business development and sales, knowing that people aren't waiting on pins and needles for you to get back to them. So that's huge for me as well.
Setting expectations. You could even do it as an auto reply in your email. Hey, I check all my emails at 4 p.m. and I may not be able to respond within 24 hours because depending on the load of emails that I receive, I may not be able to reply to them the same day. So please give me patience. If this is an emergency, contact so-and-so in the office. Thank you so much for your email message. So you can have an email responder like that. And you could put that on your voicemail. Hey, all voicemails are take so long for me to get back to whatever it is, you can set that.
Right.
And I'd just add to that is give yourself permission to not check your email, or give yourself permission to do the things that you need to do first. Because I think what was coming to mind when you guys were talking about that is a lot of people feel guilty putting their pleasure first. Like they're planning their fun first, right? They feel guilty, like, no, I have to do this work, because if you're having fun, then you're not working, and if you're not working, you're not making money or something. So I think it comes down to allowing yourself to have that fun first, and recognize that having the fun allows you to have more space to be and do better at what you do. Right.
Yeah. Thank you for mentioning that, Jovanni. That's a big hurdle as well. I feel like the first steps are planning it. And then, I'm at the stage where I'm actually trying to implement it. and exactly what Jovanni was saying, I'll plan a hike with my wife and the dogs. 30-minute into the hike, I realized I wasn't even present for the first 30 minutes. I have no idea what we just walked past. It could have been a waterfall. It could have been a unicorn. I have no idea. I was thinking about work and how I should be sitting in front of the computer checking emails.
You were at that amusement park and like I'm like, I gotta leave. I just had to leave. I had to call it. I don't even know what rides we went on. And to this day, that was the only time I ever went to that park. I don't know what's there. I still don't know. You get to ask me what rides. I don't know. And we spent a half day there and I don't remember the ride. I know exactly what we're talking about, Todd. I have no idea what that place was like. I would have probably been lost in a bush if I wasn't walking with her. She would have told me, don't go there. I would probably been like sitting in a bush somewhere. What am I doing here?
So if that's some of the things that we're struggling with, Steve, would you say the first things that we need to do is plan it, get it on the calendar. And then once we have that, then start working on feeling better about what, like what Jovanni was saying.
Well, yeah, yes, it's a mix. So the first thing is it's by design. So if you don't like your life, you're the architect. This is a choice, right? Like, happiness is not going to come. So if you're listening to this right now and you're like, oh, I got to work now and one day I'll be happy. I can tell you, I've been with many millionaires and a few billionaires, and they'll all tell you that money did not make their happiness. In fact, some of them will even have told me they didn't even have money until they were happy. People think that money changed people, but I've learned now, you have to change the have money. That's the real story. Money doesn't change people. It amplifies them. So if someone's a jerk, they become a bigger jerk. If somebody is awesome giving person, then they're going to give more, and this has been true to form. So back to the mindset that Jovanni's talking about. I mean, here's the thing that we know, if this helps at all, and this does get deeper and it takes more time than this podcast will allow us, but maybe we can bring this into some consecutive conversations here. The thing is that if it's by design, just like I said, and you want to choose happiness, you got to choose it now. You got to just take it and go and make that choice, because living is now. Robert Dilts said, and he did a lot of meditation and dimensional mind approach that Carl Buchheit introduced me to. But he says the point of most power is right now. The point of most power is now. And so in that, we have to take control of that power. So it's not going to be perfect, to your point, Todd. We just got to give it a go. And so you got to give yourself permission, back to Jovanni, to take that time and know this is what I had to learn, is that it doesn't matter. Like, the whole point of feeling guilty that you're not at your computer. Well, you know what? If and this is statistically true, and you can go look up Adam Ruins Everything. And it's the work. It's how Adam ruins work, or whatever. That's the title. So go look that up. I'm sure you could find clips of that. Hopefully you can. If you can't, message us on the podcast. We'll find it for you. We'll find some of this data. But it is known, and multiple sources, that we're not efficient when we start working longer hours. Just think of it as like a drill. And I use this metaphor a lot. If you have a battery operated drill and you only have one battery left, or one battery at all, and you're drilling holes and you need to do 10 more holes, and you had a goal to finish those 10 holes before you go home for the day, and or finish for the day, you're drilling those holes and it's going, the battery's about to die and it's barely spinning that thing, and you're sitting there and a little bit of sawdust is coming. You're not even able to drill the holes. At some point you're going to stop, and then you're going to put it down, plug in that battery, go home. And then in the morning, you're going to drill those 10 holes in less than a minute. Zip, 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 done. And now think about in yourself, when in our life have we ever pulled an all-nighter or worked really hard and then we got stuck and we went to bed, and then right then when we woke up in the morning or shortly after, we fixed the issue? Right?
Yep.
You're nodding your head, Todd. So yes, you've had this happen, right? And Jovanni, you've had it happen too, right? See. Yeah, Todd has to remember it's a podcast. No one can see you. You got to say yes. We do have this on YouTube. So the people on YouTube saw Todd, but for everyone else, Todd said yes with shaking. So So the thing that the point I'm making is then if we know this to be true, then giving yourself permission to go relax, to go on that hike with your family and fully be present and letting all that go, taking a break and then coming back, then we can do it. And the best thing that helped me with it, Todd, was the plan. So my encouragement to you, when you're going to go on that hike and you committed to going on that hike, write down all the things you need to do before you go on the hike. So then when you get back, you're like, that's the list of crap I need to do. Because what tends to happen when we go into a thing, and what was happening to me in that amusement park was like, oh my gosh, I have a deadline. If I don't get this thing edited, I'm going to do this. And it's going over and over like a broken record. But if I had planned and said, okay, I have these 2 days, or better yet, if I would have told the client that, hey, this is the day I can deliver the project, and I knew I had an adequate enough of time, then I would have totally enjoyed the amusement park. So I would have been like, oh, I can come back. I have 2 days to finish that project, yada, yada, yada. So it goes back to, like you said, Todd, communicating with the client, communicating expectations, but then also managing expectations with self. What are you committing to yourself? And so then the best thing I do is I write it down. That's why we have the WOW schedule program. The WOW schedule method is about planning tomorrow today. So if we plan tomorrow today, then at the end, the reason I started to have to do this is because then I can leave, go have dinner with my family, enjoy the evening, knowing I already have a plan for tomorrow. So I would suppose, and let me ask you this, Todd, when you went on that hike, did you have a plan for what you were going to do when you got back to work?
Absolutely not.
Yeah. Hence the wandering mind, because you're trying to design what you need to do instead of having done it before and then have that freedom. So that's why when we plan our fun first, we plan those hikes, we plan the time to go to the amusement park or whatever else we want to do. And then we got to plan the work that we want to get done in said time so that we can like work on that. And then that's what's iterative. Then we might make a mistake and say, oh, I can get that done in 4 hours. And it really takes 10 hours. Then I have to. So then I'm like, oh, I learned from that lesson. That takes 10 hours. I better block that. If I do 2 hours a day for the next 5 days, I can get that done. No problem. Then tell the client or whoever is expecting something, hey, I'll have that done in 5 days because I'm going to do a little bit each day. Or I'm going to work longer 2 days, do 5 hours one day and 5 hours the other. But then this is all by design. Make sense?
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that. Oftentimes, being so client centric, I have a tendency to sacrifice my free time, my family time, to get the work done. And oftentimes when I do what you're saying and communicate that with the client, they're like, no problem. You could turn it in on Monday or turn it in on Tuesday, or, go ahead, take your time. So oftentimes just asking and communicating with the client instead of sacrificing those things that you think you need to sacrifice to get it done.
It's so true, because we're not managing expectations, and we all have a mutual friend, Garrick, who actually we should have on the podcast. I was just thinking maybe we should put him on the list, Jovanni, but the couch behind me, I don't know if anybody is watching on the video, there's like a little couch behind me. Garrick was sitting on that couch and he got a message from a client and he's like, oh man, I got to leave. And he had paid for a coaching session with me. So he's paying thousands of dollars to be with me. And he's like, I got to go. And I'm like, really? How do you know? And the answer was, there was no knowing. He just immediately saw a client request, immediately thought that it had to be done now. And so we took a break. I said, how about you take a break and you figure this out? We took a break. And I had to do something else anyway. So I went, I did some other tasks for myself, came back, and he's like, oh my gosh, you're right. The client doesn't even want this right now. They can wait like a week or something. I can't remember the exact thing. So he's like, okay. And I delegated it. I actually sent it off to somebody else to do the work, and it can be done next week and it's fine. And then we went on with our coaching session. But his immediate response was, I have to do this now. I'll flip mode. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to leave the session. And I've done that too. I'm not picking on Garrick. Like, we've all done this. Many of us, we assume when it needs to get done. So big thing for anybody that's managing customers, clients, even your boss at work. If you're in your career, ask, when would you like this done? And chances are it's less time than you put on yourself.
Yep.
Yeah. So I hope this is helpful. And I know this is a great discussion. I'm glad that we brought this up because we're all starting to plan for a new year coming up when, at the time that but this is a timeless piece, even though this is timely for when we're recording this podcast. These are lessons for life. And believe me, do I have it perfect? No. I'm still making it better. I'm still redesigning, and I try different things, like, oh, try this out. Oh, I don't like that. And then a couple of months later, I'll redesign my work week. But I have successfully worked less than 30 hours a week, sometimes 20 hours a week. And I've even done a 2-day work week when I'm traveling, like internationally. I've done 1 or 2 days of work, like packed it, designed it that way, and then took the rest of the week off with my family wherever I was in the world. So, and I did that on purpose because most people work 5 days and take 2 days off. I'm like, I wonder if I could work 2 days and take 5 days off. And I did it. It's by design. I had to design those days and I had to figure that out. And that's where the creativity comes in. So I'll leave everyone with that wonderment. And maybe that's another podcast down the road too. We can talk, how the heck did I make a 2-day work week? I'm happy to share more on that, but I think we should wrap up this. Anything you guys want to add or you feel good about?
I just want to say to people to be gentle with yourself, forgive yourself, and then be grateful that you're even taking these steps to make change.
That's a huge one. Resetting. That's another podcast. We should write these down, huh? Resetting, giving yourself permission to be kind and reset, because it's not always going to go the way you thought it was. So
no, it's
I like to
not.
think of it as a practice. It's like meditation, right? You don't get it the first time. It's just you try, like you said, you try stuff and then, oh, that didn't work, or oh, that actually worked. Then you just continue doing, and then like Todd said, you just reset and be kind to yourself. Like, oh, hey, this day didn't work properly or the way I wanted it to go. And then it's like, okay, what do I want tomorrow? How do I want tomorrow to be? And then you plan it and whatnot.
Yeah. And you're right. It's always a practice. Even when you go to a doctor's office that you're expecting them to be an expert, that's still called a practice, a law practice. All these people that are experts that we hire, they're still practicing. No one's perfect. We're all practicing to get better. So great point, Jovanni. I love that. And thanks for adding the kindness in there, Todd. We have to be kind. You can't beat yourself up, Yeah, my girlfriend then, now wife, was pissed off when we left that amusement park. Definitely was some learning. That was some learning lessons there. And I definitely needed some kindness and some extra hugs, but that was what I thought I needed to do. I probably could have pulled it off without ruining our last day of our holiday and coming back pissed off. But I needed to learn that lesson that day. So.
Well, it wasn't so bad that she's now your wife. So
yeah, she stayed around. She stayed around. Boy, that girl's a trooper. If I told all the stories, you'd be like, what was she thinking? Maybe some people think she's a trooper and some people think she's just crazy, but I'm crazy too. So it works out. We're both crazy. So, all right. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in to the More Business, More Life podcast. Thank you, Jovanni and Todd, for joining me. And this is fun. We got to do more of these with our team. I had fun. So I hope you guys did too.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
My pleasure. All right. Well, tune in next week. We'll see you then. Thanks for listening to the More Business, More Life podcast. I hope you got value. And if you did, we have so many more things for you at stevenapolitan.com. You'll be able to connect with us on social media. We are active. You can ask us questions. And then on top of that, I want to give you a really big gift. And it truly is. We want to give so much value. We have an offering. It's a program called Clear Path to Customers. It's the same way that we attract wow clients and only working with the right people, the people we want to. And it's transformed my business into millions more in revenue with the right people and my clients. And we're doing it absolutely free. So you can go to stevenapolitan.com and grab that. You just got to put in your information. We'll send it to you promptly. And that again is on stevenapolitan.com. I look forward to having you on the next show. Until then, remember, choose gratitude and create freedom.